Hey guys, welcome back to the full show. Of course, I am Foolish Phil. Just wanted to give you some of my thoughts after Michigan's 93-72 victory over the Nebraska Cornhuskers tonight in Ann Arbor. I gotta say, this was an odd game. If you didn't watch it, I'm not saying this was the most pleasant game to watch, and it's kind of crazy. It was really frustrating at times, and Michigan had, when you score 93 points and you win by 21, you don't think you would ever have like much frustration in the game, but there was a lot of frustration for me as a fan. And it really comes down to like the sloppy turnovers. You had such subpar defense at times, and it's weird that Michigan wins by 21. And I was so frustrated. My little girl Savannah came up to me at one point and says, "Daddy, it's okay. They're trying their best." I'm like, no. I know they're trying their best, honey, but still, it's frustrating. Oh, okay, let's start at the beginning. Oh, Michigan's key to this game was really trying to stop two players for Nebraska, and the first one definitely had to be Tominanga. He had been on fire, scored over 31 points, I think, in their last game, and tonight he was superb again. I mean, you limited him, if you will. Nebraska only had him and Walker in double figures, so you got to consider that a plus, I guess. Tominanga is like just on fire. He finished with, I think, 26 points, something like that, and Walker had 15 and 7 assists. But those were their two main threats, right? You had to stop them. Tominanga got his points, and a lot of times Kobe Buffkin was playing good defense, and the guy just hit shots. That's just what's going to happen, and it is what happened. But offensively, Michigan just came out and just like lit the ball on fire. They raced out, I think it was a 30-5 run for like about 10 minutes of the game, and they were up 41-17 at that point. And 6.5 minutes to go, 6.5 to 7 minutes to go. And good old TV announcer saying, well, Michigan's high score for the season in the first half is 49 against Lipscomb. I'm like, okay, well, there's like 6.5 minutes. Michigan's offense has been basically unstoppable. They're hitting all their threes. They're shooting 74% from the floor. And they're doing this all basically without Hunter Dickinson. He had one dunk in the first half, and he had only one shot. They were doubling him. Nebraska was sending the double very quick, doing the skip passes, getting open threes, and draining it. So Michigan was taking what Nebraska was giving them and making them pay with the open threes and hitting their shots. Like I said, Michigan's up 41-17, and it just was like Nebraska just called a timeout. Joey Baker hit 2 corner threes back-to-back, 6 points, boom, boom, timeout. Like, okay, this is going to get out of hand. And from that time out, Nebraska just started chipping away. Like it turned into 7-0, then 9-12-0. It's like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is one of my pet peeves, maybe one of my areas of frustration. It's like, Coach Howard didn't call a timeout. I'm just saying, when Nebraska's coach called the timeout when things weren't going well. I think when you have like a 10-12 run against you, 0 run, you should probably call a timeout. And you're like, well, maybe he's trying to save that timeout. You know what he saved it for? Like the 30 seconds to go timeout. Use it or lose it. That's when he called the timeout. And what did Michigan do out of that timeout? Doug McDaniel turned the ball over, and gave up a 3. So it was crazy. So Michigan was up 24 points. And Nebraska just kept chipping away, and really it was the turnovers. All of a sudden Michigan, I'll give Nebraska some credit, but all of a sudden Michigan just started doing terrible sets where they're just dribbling around, not reversing the ball, anything, and just have to heave up some terrible shot with under 5 seconds to go. And that's basically what Michigan did for the last 6 minutes of the game, of the first half. It's like, what was this offense? Just sum up the first half, just like the negative feel of it, right? Was the last minute and a half, Michigan had, I think, 3 or 4 turnovers on those last 3 to 4 possessions. Just crazy. It was so sloppy. Kobe Buffkin got an offensive foul. Terrace Reed got an offensive foul. Then Doug McDaniel did 2 turnovers in a row. That was the last 4 Michigan possessions of the first half. Like, what was that? Honestly, it kind of reminded me of football. Michigan at Rutgers, where, it was everything felt even though it was okay, I think it was, I guess, in that football game, it was like 17-14 or something. Michigan was close. Might have even been leading, like 14-13 something, but it just felt bad. And that's how this game felt to me. The game felt bad. Nebraska had chipped away a 24-point deficit down to 12 over the last 6 minutes of the game, of the first half. Michigan scored 5 points over that period of 6.5 minutes when they had 41 points in the first 12 minutes of the game. Right? So it's like, whoa, what happened? So two things really had to happen. Second half here. Really limit the turnovers, right? Those were the big key. When both teams were going through their dry spells, it was due to turnovers, right? Nebraska was doing terrible. They were just turning the ball over. Then all of a sudden, Michigan decided, let's return the favor. So the second half, I put down some notes. 1, Terrace Reed and Hunter had to stay out of foul trouble. They had 5 fouls total in the first half. They had to stay out of foul trouble. 2, you had to limit the turnovers. They had 9 in the first half. They finished with 13 in the game, so that's pretty good. 4.5 is all right. And they had to start winning the 4-minute segments, right? So Nebraska chipped away. I wanted to see Michigan build on their lead, and in the first 4 minutes they did. They added 4 points. I think it was, 3 points. Then the second 4 minutes, they added another 4 points. So at the under 12 timeout, they were up by 19 again. But then all of a sudden, the bugaboo comes back out again. Michigan runs poor offense, and Nebraska goes on a 9-12-0 run again, something like that, and gets it back down to a 10-point game. They went in that 4-minute segment, they did +9. It's like, and again, where's Coach Howard calling a timeout to try to settle things down, run a play, something? Now maybe Coach Howard is like, you know what? I'm not going to bail you guys out. You guys know how to do this. You know how to fix it. Maybe that's his perspective on this. Going back to my days of watching basketball with my buddies a lot, especially March Madness, right? Get together for March Madness. We always thought that the coach, the head coach, should have a secondary person tell them when to call timeout, when you could feel momentum switching. Like, if you're watching a game like that, they need to call timeout right now, and, like, the coach wouldn't call timeout. It's like, I think right there, Coach Howard needed to call 2 timeouts in this game, and he didn't call them. He, I don't believe, called a worthwhile timeout this whole game, and Michigan, I think, used all of them. They used the last one to do a substitute when the game was over, the one at the end of the first half when they should have used it early in the first half when Nebraska was going on their run. Right. Sadly, he called the timeout, and Doug McDaniel turned the ball over off of that. I don't want to pick too much on Doug McDaniel. He played a really good. Again, he's a freshman. He finished with 4 turnovers. I think he had 3 in about a minute time frame or so. So he really played a really good game after that. So when Michigan settled down, when Michigan got back to their offense, all of a sudden their shots were falling again. Was it always pretty? No. There were some times in the second half where the offense was stagnant, and all of a sudden, let's just give the ball to Jet, and he would take a shot and boom, hit a 3. They did that like 2 possessions, or his 2 threes in a row in the middle part of the second half. Were really good because every possession you see Nebraska coming down, do some little ball screen, and Michigan did terrible at rotating through those. Layup after layup after layup. Every time they would give Walker the ball and just back off, it basically Walker versus Hunter. And your hope was that Walker would miss his layups, and luckily for Michigan, he missed half of his layups. Like, he went 7 of 15, I think, on his shots. But he missed at least 3 or 4 layups in there, and, like, some other bunnies. So it's like, oh, man, this could have been worse. I also got to say, when Michigan was struggling on offense, they did a very poor job of going to Hunter, and they would have switches. It would be Hunter versus a really small guard. I mean, Walker is 6'7", 6'8". Hunter has huge advantage on him anyways, and Michigan was like not giving him the ball as much as they should have. That would have been a good time to call a timeout too and say, get the ball to Hunter. Hunter had a great second half. 2 points in the first half, 14 points in the second half. He got 10 rebounds, maybe 11, and got his 25th, I believe it was 25th double-double at Michigan. So Hunter, even though he had a really quiet first half, and Michigan didn't need him. There's another positive I didn't make a point of, and I'm sorry, I want to go back a minute. The first half, Michigan was up by, I think, by 10 points at the under 12 timeout again. And Coach Howard put in, you had Reed, You had Joey Baker. You had, there were 4 subs that came in. Jace Howard came in. I'm trying to think of the other one. And all of a sudden, Michigan just was clicking and playing good defense and not turning the ball over. And they really expanded the lead. And that's really nice when you can give your guys rest and the lead grows. Honestly, when the starters came back in, the lead really got slashed. Right? They came back in basically when it was 41-17. Probably a little bit less. I think Nebraska started doing a little bit run there, like a 5-0 or 7-0 run there. But the starters came back and did not stop the run at all. So, I got to say, happy again for the bench. They played really good against Northwestern. Joey Baker played well again, got in double figures. In fact, the whole starting lineup for Michigan, each player was in double figures. When you see T. Will have 7 points in the first couple minutes of the game, when you see him draining a 3, you know it's going to be a good day for him. And he finished with 10 points. You know, Doug had everyone had double digits, man. And the shots were just going in. Michigan shot, look at it in here. Michigan shot, I'm trying to find it, 58% from the field, 54% from 3. I mean, when you're shooting that good, you better not lose. And they were able to get the win. Like I said, man, for a game where Michigan wins by 21 points, I don't know why it was so stressful, but there were just the gaps in there where Michigan's offense just like, what are we doing? And then you have the coach who's not calling any timeouts to try to help anything and set anything up. Maybe it's because Phil Martelli was, his assistant coach was out sick with COVID. Hey, he's going to be out versus Indiana too. Maybe he would be the one that tell how Coach Howard, hey, maybe you should call a timeout. They're like a 18-2 run or whatever it was. But you know what? Look at the positives. If you're still watching, thanks. I know this is a little long video. Michigan's won 3 games in a row. First time they've done that since the start of the season. 3 Big Ten games in a row they've won. And this is a game they had to win. It's not really going to help them on the bubble situation, but losing this game would have really hurt. So, keep it going. And now you get a prime time-ish 6 o'clock game versus Indiana on Saturday. Should be a raucous crowd. I hope it is. Saturday, Indiana coming in. Should be a great crowd. Hey, something to look forward to. At least Michigan won, right? 3 in a row. I didn't know if I would ever think Michigan would win 3 games in a row the rest of this year, so it's crazy they did it. Hey, if you have any thoughts you want to say, put them in the box below. I'll try to respond as I'm able to. As always, thanks for watching, guys. And until I see you guys next time, as always, go blue.